Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode, episode 89, second episode in the season. D-Town TV, the show for DSLR shooters.
Sorry.
I'm Larry Becker, and the annoying guy is RC.
Hey everybody, I'm sorry. It was just I couldn't help it.
Now you're starting the show with this.
Yeah. This is something that's. I got to tell you, I've been really privileged. The folks over at Leica sent an M9 to be able to play with. And I have been having an absolute blast with it. It's just a really cool camera to be able to shoot. Now, one of the things that I wanted to be able to talk about when it comes to these kinds of cameras and in these kinds of ranges is the ability to be able to use them to be able to start a conversation is obviously something that I think is really important. But one of the things that I didn't think that I was going to like, but that I actually like quite a bit, is being able to shoot from the hip. Being able to shoot very quickly with a camera like this, and just being able to kind of just go, oh, well, you know what, there's a thing here, and hopefully trying to see if I can get it. That part is a bit, the exploration has been really cool, and I've actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to. A couple of things that I wanted to be able to point out with this, and this is a rangefinder system. A lot of the times people don't understand that there's a very big difference between a rangefinder camera and a DSLR, traditional DSLR camera. So the way a rangefinder works is there's two different types of viewfinders, right? So you have one that sits right here. That's the one that you look through. And then you have this one right here, which is the rangefinder. And what that does is it takes two images and it puts them directly on top of one another. So when you put your eye through this, you actually see an actual frame, and then you see this little white square of almost kind of like a copy, what they call a ghost frame, on top of it. All you need to do is you need to grab this focus ring that sits right here, and what you're doing is you're moving it until those two images line up. That's a great way for you to be able to try to get creative, and you can just automatically get there and just do this and get the shot, then you're in focus. The great part about that is that if you can see it, you can focus it. A lot of the times, if you're in low light, if you're using a DSLR camera, it's like focus assist, the light has to come on, you seek, you have to bring out a flashlight. You don't have to with this. The downside to that is that you're going to spend some time trying to learn how to be able to use this. It's an investment that you're doing in this being a completely different system. It's not like a point and shoot. It's not like a DSLR. This operates very different. It operates kind of like the cameras of yesteryear. So that part I think is really cool. It's 18 megapixel, but there is one thing that I do like about this. This has a 35 f2 Summicron lens, and you'll notice you don't see this anymore.
Right.
And that's one of those things where it's like, you know, depth of field and scale markers. You don't see those in cameras too much anymore, because a lot of the times with this, what this allows you to be able to do is allows you to work in the concept of what's called hyperfocal ranges, right? And the concept is actually very simple. What you do is you set your aperture for whatever it is that you want. So let's just say, for example, I want to shoot at 5.6. Now, you'll see the little infinity knob right there to the right of the number 10. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set that to 5.6. So now my little infinity is on that little 5.6, and if you look at the 5.6 at this side, it's telling me that it's about 2.5 feet. So from 2.5 feet on to infinity, I'm going to be in focus. So the best way to be able to do this is now you're walking around, you see something that's about there, you set yourself up, you set your distance, and you go, all right, well, I want to be around there. And now you're just firing from here. Now, there's an acceptable amount of blur that you see when you're working with this kind of stuff. It's not a very precise thing. It can be. And in some instances, people shoot phenomenal shots that way, but you'd be very surprised as to how well this does with working with it like this. So that's one thing that I'm liking. I'm liking the shooting from the hip. I'm liking the compactness. I can talk forever about the build quality and the lens quality and the optics and all of that kind of stuff. But one of the things that I think that's been great is that it's been a great conversation piece when I'm going out. I went out to this amphitheater and I was taking pictures, and I showed up and I was just like, listen, I'd love to be able to take a picture with my camera. And they're looking at the camera and they're like, sure, take a picture, go ahead. They're like, what are you playing with there? And then I turn around and explain to them that it's a Leica M9, it's 18 megapixels, and it's this, that, and the other. Like, Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's been a great conversation starter. It's funny how people turn around and they take a look at it from a standpoint of, well, it looks like a camera from the days of yore.
Right.
So therefore you're not going to get noticed. I'm like, well, everybody has a DSLR now. You walk around with something like this, you're going to get noticed. But that noticing, thankfully, has turned into a lot of different conversations and a lot of different interesting things that have come out of that, where I've had some great shots. Now, on aboutrc.com, on my blog, I'm going to post a series of different images that I've made with the Leica M9. And I've kind of taken it to a point where a lot of the times you see a specific style of shooting with the M9. It's, Bresson used it, and it's used a lot in reportage because of how sturdy and how reliable the camera is. But I wanted to try to do a lot of other things with it. I wanted to try to do studio stuff. I wanted to try to be able to do HDR stuff. So all of that stuff is going to be in a post where I profess my undying love for this. And thank you very much to the folks over at Leica for making sure that we can have this possible, because the camera is a very it's an expensive camera.
Okay, so that's the only thing you haven't ever said, RC.
It's an expensive camera. This is for the people who really want to invest in this type of photography. It's the gold standard, and it is priced appropriately so.
Yeah.
Make sure that you take a look at this. You could take a look at it at Adorama. You could take a look at it at B&H, and obviously you could take a look at it at the Leica website. But we'll go ahead and we'll post all of those links down here in the show notes.
Very cool, RC, thanks. And, a lot of people don't know about the Rangefinder camera, and they just have such a rabid following. The people that love them. I mean, they're committed.
Absolutely. But
no
now,
autofocus.
No autofocus. Now, from this point, I think it's about time for us to be able to take a look at other interesting things, like Mr. Joe McNally talking to us about the Quadras. Hey everybody, I'm here with Master, the Grandmaster. I didn't say it, it's been published. It's good. Mr. Joe McNally. Joe, what's going on, man?
Not much. How you doing? It's good to be here.
Man. It's good to see you. Now, I figured we'd bring Joe in to be able to deal with a couple of different things. One, we get a lot of questions talking about watt seconds, and not so much what's better one or another, but what kinds of things to be able to consider when dealing with something that has a lower watt second and then bigger packs that deal with higher watt seconds. Okay. So that's one thing. And then the second thing I figured is a lot of the times people are talking about asymmetry when it comes to flash stuff. So what do they mean when you're looking at asymmetrical ports, and what kinds of things are you looking at now these days with watt seconds? How does that translate to the work that you do?
Sure. Day to day, this pack has become extremely popular, not only for lots of photographers, for us at the studio, because we find, we're at this amazing technology curve where digital ISOs look very good at 200, 400, 800. You got a lot more wiggle room. Hence, you can travel lighter in terms of the overall load of watt seconds that you bring into the field. Like this is a Quadra, 400 watt seconds, kind of a lunchbox type of thing. It's got a big brother called a Ranger, which is 1,200 watt seconds.
Right.
That's a commitment to bring into the field. It's a great light, but it's got a motorcycle battery basically in the base of it. It's heavy. It's much bigger than this. You get more bang out of it, no two ways about it. But I find for convenience sake, portability, shooting light and fast, moving quickly, all that sort of stuff, this has been a go-to pack for us, because 400 watt seconds nowadays goes a long way, longer than it did in the film days, for sure.
Right. So in those instances where you're using 1,200 watt seconds, and let's just kind of throw out an ISO. Let's just say something that we could have done with 1,200 watt seconds at 200 ISO. By the variance of what we have now for ISO, like you can get cameras into higher and higher ISOs a lot cleaner, which means that you have to do you can do a lot more with a lot less.
With less power.
Okay.
I mean, I grew up in the days where, Kodachrome 25.
Okay.
You needed a lot of flash to amp up that particular type of slide film. Now you're dealing with, 200, 400, 800 ISO, looking very, very good just as good as some of the old transparency materials did. And so now I don't have to break my back bringing, yards and yards of flash. I can get by with something lighter and faster.
Very cool, very cool. All right, so now what about the asymmetry? We see some of these things have asymmetrical ports, and what does that mean?
If you're thinking about buying a flash unit like this, many flash units out there have 2 ports. There's a symmetrical pack and an asymmetrical style of pack.
Okay.
I would highly recommend, a few dollars more, but not that much, get a pack with asymmetrical ports. By that I mean, in the main port, in this case the A port, if you program, say, a full load of power into this, 400 watt seconds, that means through A port, you get 400 watt seconds, completely dumping into that flash head running out of that port. But say you don't need that much power and you have a subject where you're really trying to work more of a wide open f-stop, you can take and switch from A port to B port, which is automatically 30% roughly, and that's not an exact figure, but about a third of what is dispersed by the A port. So in other words, you automatically go down in power. You could keep the pack all the way up on its power rating, switch ports, and you get 30% of the whole pack. Then if you take the pack all the way down to its lowest scale, I think this unit it can go from 400 watt seconds to somewhere around 6 or 8 in that neighborhood, which is a tiny little flick of light.
That's just a small kiss.
Very similar to a little pop-up flash, really.
Okay, very, very cool. So the versatility is just really being able to switch very, very quickly, and most importantly, bringing it really, really down.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome, great. Joe McNally, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Hey, great stuff as always from Joe. He is an absolute professional, and that's cool stuff about the Quadra.
And do you want to see more about Joe? Do you want to see more about all of these kinds of things? Make sure you take a look at kelbytraining.com. Kelbytraining.com is the source for you learning about all of this stuff: cameras, flash, photography, Photoshop. Anything that you want to be able to take your skills to the next level, that's where you want to be able to go. That's the people that make this show possible, and we're very, very grateful for that. Now, before we go anywhere else, you've got a tip on flash.
Yeah, some more
modifiers.
Speedlight stuff. We talked about Speedlights last week, and people really seem to want to know a lot about it. So I just pulled together a couple of things that are my go-to all the time with Speedlights. First thing is you need an adjustable umbrella bracket. This just sits on top of any light stand, and it's adjustable for different angles. And then you slide your hot shoe of your flash, or actually the flash is the hot shoe part. This is actually called a cold shoe because it has no electronics in it. And pay attention to this particular connector, the kind with the side twist knob on it. That's what you're definitely going to need if you have an SB900, because the hot shoe plate is actually just a little bit thicker than it had been before those came out. So make sure that you look for this kind. But these are about 18 to 20 bucks, something like that. Now, this is called an umbrella bracket, and the reason for that is because you can put an umbrella light modifier, whether you're using a shoot-through umbrella or what have you. You put the umbrella shaft through here, and then this sits on the light stand, and then you've got your umbrella mounted up there. I have a few umbrellas, but I use this way more than I use umbrellas. It is the Westcott Apollo. Now, it's an umbrella-based framework, and what do these go for, like 150 bucks, somewhere in that range for this size? So 28-inch. And it is truly, I'm not going to open the whole thing here, but it's a square softbox with an umbrella shaft in the middle, and then access on the bottom so that you can get up to, well, the thing mounts this way. And so through here is where the light stand goes. Oh, I'll go ahead and open it. I'm just going to make it better.
If there's one modifier, if somebody told me that I can just use one modifier,
this is it.
And only one modifier, in my bag, in my car, the Apollo's the one that I usually go for. This thing, I've beat this thing into the ground. And there's actually a couple of things that you don't really quite see about this that are really, really cool. But it's pretty straightforward. You throw your light in there.
Yep. So this whole structure mounts with the umbrella shaft going through the umbrella bracket here, and then you point the Speedlight at the back, and then of course angle it down. So the goal is to point the Speedlight at the center in the back here. So it goes like this. It is a great light source. Then you pull the, of course, you pull the diffusion material across the front, and where my arm is coming through the side, it's actually going to be a light stand. So it's kind of like this with the light stand set up through there. Terrific modifier. And I have one other that I carry with me all over the place, and I like this. The folks at LumaQuest sent this to us, and this is actually the Promax system. And the reason that I like this You guys know that I use speed straps all the time. Lots of people use speed straps. I don't want to glue adhesive Velcro on here. And I use the LumaQuest Ultra Strap because it's the only one with elastic in it. So it really fits tight on there. And it's kind of stretchy. So it's rubber on one side and it fits on there as Velcro. And then you take this device and fix it onto the Speedlight. So this goes onto the back like this. And then these two tabs go onto the side. And so then you've got a nice little reflector. This is kind of a cool bounce reflector because it bounces some light forward and some goes straight through to the ceiling. But the reason that I like this Promax system is because it also comes with all of these inserts. So you can insert a white, you can insert a black to become like a flag, you can insert gold and silver. And so this is just really kind of a cool system. They've even got a diffuser that you can put on here. So very cool system from the folks at LumaQuest. It's around 55, 60 bucks for something like this. And it's a very versatile, and obviously it packs really small, but a very versatile system that you can add to your speedlights to really kind of control the light that's coming out of these speedlights.
Yeah, I am an absolute fan. Oh, here, take a look at this. Grab this. Yep. Grab the Apollo. I'll give you two other tips that I think are cool. So, right, when we said this, right, this is how you would use it normally. Sometimes you'll notice that on the hole here, the hole has a very, very narrow range of motion. So when you're using it with an umbrella box, sometimes it's a little hard to be able to do this kind of tip.
Yeah.
So what I would recommend that you do is, in an instance where you need a tip, just run your pole right through the front of this, right to the very, very front of this, and then just kind of like this.
Yeah, so the light stand is actually out front of the softbox, and if you've got this softbox high and tipped down, that's exactly what it looks like.
Now you can get an overhead, you get a lot more tilt by just running through the face of this. So that's one. And two, keep in mind that when you're getting something like this, the reason that this is really, really cool is because of this part right here. This black part, you'll see how this is actually called a recess box. And the recess box allows you to be able to push this way back, push this light source back, and these almost kind of act like flags. So what they allow you to do is they allow you to be able to tilt and feather the light, whereas when you would have a traditional softbox, if it were right here on the face of it would spread and you wouldn't have a little bit more control over how to be able to work with it. So when it's recessed and you have those black squares around it, you can tip it and you can really, really control fall off. So you don't have a grid, but you do have a lot more pinpoint control by having that as a cutter.
Can you tell RC and I really like the Westcott Apollo stuff?
Yeah, this is my most favorite. This is my most favorite. But anyway, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we have the photographer site and we have our giveaway. You're going to want to see this one.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It is the wrap-up time of this show.
I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh,
Love this.
Apollo, M9, iPad. Wow, who can ask for anything more?
Well, I'm going to ask you for something. You have a photographer site for us to check out.
I most certainly do. Take a look at this guy. This guy is awesome. Now, he's on 500px, so the best way for you to be able to find him is just to go to 500px.com/Dean Bradshaw. Take a look at this guy's work. He is absolutely amazing. Now, Dean is somebody that I met on 500px, and I actually started talking to him on Google+. So what I love about his work is that he has a very, very nice commercially look with like a California vibe. So he's got these beautiful, beautiful colors. Like here, for example, take a look at this. This is a picture that he calls blue. And lit beautifully, processed beautifully, but it kind of has like that cool pastel-y.
Sure.
And then that's kind of like his signature thing, which I think is great. This is one of my all-time favorites. I'd love to put this on a wall somewhere. The Platt Brothers.
Wow.
I just think he's got phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal work.
And as somebody who's worked with lights to light a scene, I am in awe of what all he had to go through to do that.
Dean Bradshaw is the man. So 500px.com/Dean Bradshaw. Dean, absolutely love your work. I think it's phenomenal stuff. But take a look at him. You're going to spend a lot of time going, oh, I hate you, Dean Bradshaw. So anyway, contest time.
Yeah, what are we going to give away, RC? What could we give away?
How about one of these?
That is a cool prize.
The tool that I like to use, the Westcott Apollo. So if there's one tool that I could absolutely just gush over forever, aside from this one, it's the Apollo. So we're going to give that one to you. So thanks to the folks over at Westcott for providing it.
Yeah, just go to kelbytv.com/DTownTV and put your comments down there. Let us know something about the show. What did you like about the show? What don't you like about the show? Anything like that. And if it's a nice comment, no, I'm just kidding. We'll just pick from any of the comments there. And one of you, chosen at random, of course, is going to be the lucky winner of the Westcott Apollo. This is why I'm going to put several comments there this week myself.
I hope it's me. I hope I get one of those. But that's it. Great show. Thank you so much for stopping by. We're going to catch you guys next week.
Bye, guys. Thanks for checking us out.
See you later.